Hey everybody, welcome to Crack Pack Tuesday, number 185 on the Mana Leek. I'm John, as always, and I've got another pack of Ravnica Allegiance. This set is still so good. I'm enjoying it so much. It is almost definitely in my top 10. I don't think it's going to crack the top 5, but this set is super good. It's so night and day to the monstrosity that was Guilds of Ravnica. Anyways, we're going to crack this open, see what's in it, and see what we would take pack one, pick one. If this was a draft. This, of course, is a sponsored Crack-A-Pack. If you are a patron over at patreon.com/themanaleak at the $5 level or above, you get a chance to get all these cards out of this pack, or some of the cards out of the cards, whatever you want. And this week, these cards are going to go to Blazer 1001, who can let me know if they want all the cards, none of the cards, some of the cards, pieces of the cards, or whatever. Up first, if we get it out of the pack, up first is Scorchmark. 1 and a red for an instant, deal 2 damage to target creature. If it dies, exile it instead. It's good. If this pack is awful, this is a card that I wouldn't hate myself first picking. It can hang out in the frame, but it should get replaced before too long. Up next is Bring to Trial. 2 and a white for a sorcery. Exile target creature with power 4 or greater. Not a huge fan of this. The sorcery speed really hurts this, and there's a lot of decks where this hits nothing. And then some decks where it's really good. Keep this in the sideboard, only in the sideboard. I really dislike main decking it. Up next is Open the Gates. Open the Gates is a single green for a sorcery. Search your library for a basic land card or gate card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. This is fine. If you're splashing and you're base green, it's going to help you get those colors that you need. If you're the gate deck, it's also helpful. But if you're a 2-color deck, you really don't play this. Yeah, fixing if you need it, and if you don't touch it. Up next is Consigned to the Pit. Consigned to the Pit is a 5 and a black for a sorcery. Destroy target creature. Consigned to the Pit deals 2 damage to that creature's controller. This is unfortunately too expensive to be the premiumest of premium removal, but it's still fine. I'd never first pick it, and in fact, I don't really like second or third or fourth picking it. Fifth picking it is where I start to feel okay, and there are some decks where you just don't want to play this. A really tight Rakdos deck doesn't touch this card. Scorchmark is better. Up next is Root Snare. Root Snare is 1 and a green for an instant at common. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. It's 1 more mana than Fog costs. Fog is awful, unplayable. This is doubly so. Don't ever play that card. I've lost to it, and it sucked. But it didn't make it correct for that person to play that card. Up next is Rafter Demon. Rafter Demon is 2 black-red for a creature demon. It's a 4/2 with Spectacle, 3 black-red. It's one of the few that cost more. When it ETBs, if you did pay the Spectacle cost, each opponent discards a card. This card's bad. 4 mana 4/2s are not good. 3 mana 4/2s I'm okay with, but a 4 mana 4/2 just dies to too many things, like, oh, I don't know, a Scorchmark. And the effect paying 5 mana to attach a discard to it, super not worth it. This card is bad. Do not play. Up next is Azorius Locket. Azorius Locket is 3 generic mana for an artifact. Tap to add a white or a blue. Tap it, sack it, and pay Azorius to draw 2 cards. I still don't like Lockets. I've tried them a little bit, and I don't really care for them. I don't think they're any better here than they were in Guilds. I think in Guilds they were unplayable, and here I think they're just undesirable. If you desperately need to get to a higher mana cost that you may not necessarily get to, I guess you can play a Locket. But this format is people are finally, after I've been saying it for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, finally realizing that it is a format that can be slow. It is not a format that is slow, and I find Lockets to typically be too slow. Regardless, not a first pick. Up next is Bladebrand. Bladebrand is 1 and a black for an instant. Target creature gains death touch until end of turn, and you draw a card. This card's great. It does everything you want to do. Your creature's probably not going to live through combat, but you do get to play this on your 1/1 or your 2/2 that's no longer relevant. Kill a creature, and, very importantly, draw a card. Of course, this works very well with Daggercaster, where if you cast it in response to the trigger, you actually kill all of your opponent's creatures. Solid card, but very much in the combat trick area. You want this mid-pack at the earliest, certainly never a first pick. Up next is Skewer the Critics. Goodbye, Scorchmark. Skewer the Critics is 2 and a red for a sorcery with Spectacle for a single red. It deals 3 damage to any target. This card, of course, was our preview card. It's a great card, and it's an easy first pick. It's definitely better than Scorchmark. It's obviously not, you know, going to kill everything, and not being instant speed hurts it a little bit, but it's still absolutely amazing, and it's definitely the first pick for now. Up next is Growth Spiral. Growth Spiral is a green-blue instant. Draw a card, and then you can play a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. I don't like this card. I didn't like this card at the start. People were calling me crazy, and this card was insane and some of the best ramp ever. And now people have sort of realized that it doesn't always get you a land. It sometimes just cycles itself. It doesn't really do anything if you're not getting that land on like turn 2 or 3, because what does ramp care for turn 5 or turn 6? Growth Spiral is just not very good. I don't ever like playing these cards, and I'm certainly not going to pick them highly. Our first uncommon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, unfortunately no foil, is Rally to Battle. Rally to Battle is 3 and a wait for an instant. Creatures you control get +1/+3 until end of turn, untap them. I don't really like this card. I've played it a couple of times, both times in High Alert decks, where, of course, when I had High Alert out, it was nutty. But when I didn't have High Alert out, it's fine. It's very close to a fog. Sure, sometimes you will actually get to kill creatures that wouldn't have necessarily been killed, but a lot of the times this is just like a defensive back foot, uh-oh, I'm gonna die, let's live one more turn and then die kind of card. It's not very good. It's not a high pick. If I'm in High Alert, I'll wait for this to wheel, but it's not even the consideration here. Gates Ablaze is a very good card. 2 and a red for a sorcery. Gates Ablaze deals X damage to each creature, where X is the number of gates that you control. The gate payoffs in this set are fantastic. The gate payoffs in the last set were garbage. Like, think about it. Remember, we were excited about an equipment that cared about gates. Gates Ablaze is super good. If I really wanted to be spicy and go into the Gates deck, I would strongly consider first picking this. I think it is definitely in the consideration. I think it's a little bit more in consideration in Arena, where the Gate deck is a little bit more open because the bots don't necessarily know how to draft properly. They don't not necessarily know. They don't know how to draft properly. In a solid draft pod in paper or on MTGO, you're just not going to get enough gates usually to really make this go off, so it's a slight gamble, but it's still a consideration for the first pick here. Up next is Syndicate Guildmage. Syndicate Guildmage is white-black for a creature human cleric. It's a 2/2. Pay 1 and a white to tap target creature with power 4 or greater, which is typically the creature you're going to want to tap anyways. Pay 4 and a black, tap it. Syndicate Guildmage deals 2 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. This is a good card. I don't like first picking it because it obviously goes in the Orzhov deck, or maybe in the other black deck, the Rakdos deck, or perhaps the Azorius deck. But it's not really worth splashing for this. So I'm not sold on taking a Syndicate Guildmage over either of these cards. If these cards were worse, Syndicate Guildmage could hang out in frame. But for now, it's going to leave. It's a good card, but I want to stay open at the start of this draft. Our rare, we're already at our rare, wow, is Immolation Shaman. Immolation Shaman is 1 and a red for a creature. Viashino Shaman at rare, it's a 1/3. Whenever an opponent activates an ability of an artifact, creature, or land that isn't a mana ability, Immolation Shaman deals 1 damage to that player. Pay 3 red, give Immolation Shaman +3/+3 and menace until end of turn. This is fine. It's a very good uncommon, or a mediocre rare. It's not exciting enough. You have to pump so much mana into this for it to actually do anything. There's not that many activated abilities that your opponents are activating over and over and over, except maybe a Guild Mage. So I'm not sold on Immolation Shaman being an amazing first pick. If I'm in red and this comes around to me, maybe like 3rd, 4th, 5th pick, sure, I'll snap it up and I'll probably play it every single time that I have it in red, but it's not these two cards, so sorry, Immolation Shaman, you're not in the conversation here. Orzhov Guildgate isn't either. Centaur Token, neither. So we're really looking at Skewer the Critics or Gates Ablaze. Gates Ablaze is basically deciding our path. We either waste our first pick if we don't end up in the Gates deck, or we end up in the Gates deck and we have an amazing sweeper. Skewer the Critics keeps me more open, and so I think that's just the way that I'm going to head. You guys know me. I'm a little bit more cautious. I'm not going to jump into a deck by just taking Gates Ablaze at the start if there's something a lot better, and I think Skewer the Critics is a lot more consistent and keeps us very, very open. It can go in Rakdos, it can go in Gruul, it can be splashed, and is worth splashing in many other color combinations as well. So Skewer the Critics is my pick. pick. Let me know what your pick is. Would you have taken the Gates Ablaze? Would you have taken the Immolation Shaman? Would you have said no red and taken the Syndicate Guildmage? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me over on Twitter, on Facebook, on Twitch, all at the Mana Leek. I do stream on Twitch a fair bit more now with subs and emotes and all that kind of jazz. And of course, the marble races where you can win an Inked Gaming playmat if you have the most points at the end of our 3-month marble season. So make sure you're checking that out. If you do want to go over to Inked Gaming, use the promo code ManaLeek10, all one word, 10 is the number to get 10% off your order and help out the channel. If you want to get in for these crack-a-packs and help the channel out otherwise, you can go over to patreon.com/themanaleek. Any amount is awesome. $5 gets you in for the draw to get all these cards, or some of these cards, or pieces of the card. Maybe I could rip it up. I've had somebody ask for a signature on a card, so, you know, all up to you. And of course, this week it went to Blazer 1001. If you like the content, click that thumbs up button. Click subscribe if you want to see more. And if you do have questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, see y'all next time.